Hi, this is Mark Rabin. Welcome to episode 117 of Lean Blog Audio. This is a post from January 27th, 2016 titled HBR Article on Avoiding the Futility of Suggestion Systems. So at KaiNexus, software company I've been involved with for a number of years, we've been fortunate to have a real good relationship from Professor Ethan Burris from the University of Texas, McCombs School of Business. I'm from Texas, so the UT here, of course, means University of Texas, but I should make sure I clarify that. Burris has done a lot of research and publishing around employee engagement and idea systems. As I mentioned on the blog before in a post titled, "Is Fear the Only Reason Employees Don't Speak Up?" And if you want to find a link to that and other things, go to leanblog.org/audio117. Burris has a new article on the Harvard Business Review website titled, "Employee Suggestion Schemes Don't Have to Be Exercises in Futility." So in my own work and travels, before we talk about the article, I mean, it's really hard to find anybody who has good things to say about suggestion boxes and typical suggestion box systems. Futility is a really good word for it, and I've written a number of posts about that in the past. As Joe Schwartz and I point out in our book, Healthcare Kaizen, suggestion boxes and a healthy Kaizen process are very different. Kaizen can be much more effective because of the practices, the mindsets, and the leadership behaviors involved. Some of the mechanics matter, but you can tear down the suggestion box and start a Kaizen process instead. Now, many organizations in the private sector and government at the state and federal level have tried electronic or digital suggestion box systems. And they have all of the same success or the same futility, really, that you usually see with paper boxes. The Washington Post wrote an article about this a couple years ago titled, "The 86,000 Budget-Cutting Ideas That Got Away." One way that a Kaizen system is different than suggestion boxes is that effective Kaizen systems ask employees for far more than cost reduction. That's a very important point. So in his most recent HBR article, Burris says, quote, "Here's the irony of moving up in most organizations. You have more power to make changes, but less visibility into what should change. Because you're no longer on the front lines directly encountering many of the organization's most pressing needs, you must rely on lower-level employees to share their observations and ideas. But gathering insights from hundreds or thousands of employees can be a daunting process. No one has time to sit down with everyone individually or in groups." It's incredibly important to involve frontline employees, of course, in identifying and solving problems. You can't have everything flow up to a single committee or executive team far separated from the workplace. And maybe we should challenge the idea that Burris mentioned, the idea that we don't have time to work with everybody. And maybe we should make time instead. Now, President Bill Clinton actually sort of made a similar remark about getting input from everybody when I saw him speak last Saturday at a patient safety movement event in California. And if you want to see the whole video of President Clinton's talk, again, you can go to leanblog.org/audio117. I'm going to blog more about this in the future. I'm possibly paraphrasing, but President Clinton said, quote, basically, "Give people time to find small things that put together will make a big difference. A coalition of diverse perspectives to solve a problem like hospital infections," saying that makes a big difference. And I agree. There's no single magic silver bullet to hospital-acquired infections, to solving that. So we need lots of people identifying as many possible causes and countermeasures as possible. Now back to Burris. He writes about the dysfunctions of suggestion box systems, even in the digital realm. And he makes three key points. One is basically, having a system available doesn't mean people will use it. 2, organizations focus too much on collecting ideas and not enough on evaluating them. And 3, direct quote, "Electronic suggestion boxes breed a sense of futility, much like their older school physical counterparts collecting dust in the corners of offices," end of quote. And he says, too few ideas are being actually implemented. We can't just collect ideas. We need to help make improvement happen. And I agree with Burris that leaders need to engage employees in person and offline, not just online or in a computer system. We need to tell them what goals are important and listen to the employees, I would add, in terms of defining goals. We need to explain what sorts of ideas are wanted. I would emphasize small ideas that create a better workplace and better serve patients. Again, not just cost reduction. Now, Burris points out something we've held to at KaiNexus for a long time, something we've believed in, that we're different than an electronic suggestion box system. Instead of people across a company, for example, voting on ideas that aren't relevant to them, we encourage people and our customers to test and evaluate ideas within their local work group when they can. That's a more Kaizen-y approach, if you will, seeing problems and solving problems rather than escalating everything. And Burris writes, again, quote, other suggestion platforms take a different approach altogether, different than suggestion boxes. Instead of casting an ultra-wide net to scoop up the few big ideas, they aim to implement a larger percentage of incremental ideas. For instance, I'm currently conducting research with a small software company in Austin, KaiNexus, which draws on the continuous improvement and lean manufacturing philosophies to help clients implement upwards of 75% of the ideas they collect within local teams and departments. The idea is to gain momentum and build a culture of improvement by tackling smaller ideas more routinely. This approach seems promising because futility may be the largest psychological roadblock to soliciting feedback digitally. If the chance of implementation seems trivial, people just won't bother to contribute ideas, or they'll throw in safe token suggestions and call it a day. And neither of those outcomes gets you any closer to creating a culture of innovation or creativity, which is really the point of any suggestion box, whether it's digital or not. End of quote. So in suggestion box systems, you typically see something like 2 to 3% of ideas being implemented. And, at KaiNexus, we don't want futility. KaiNexus won't be successful if we acquire customers who then don't make good use of the software because they're not soliciting and implementing enough ideas. This takes leadership. It takes having good methodologies, not just technology. So my advice is, not to get trapped by the promise of suggestion boxes, paper or electronic. Even though lots of people implement them all the time, there's just too much evidence that they don't work. And, final thought, you don't have to use software like KaiNexus, but please make sure you're following a Kaizen-based approach instead of a suggestion box system. So thanks for listening. Again, if you want to see this post and share it, read the links, you can go to leanblog.org/audio117.